Good morning, and welcome to a new episode of Meatpacking Unpacked, Community Connected, brought to you by the Meatpacking District. My name is Jeffrey LeFrancois, and I'm the Executive Director of the Meatpacking Business Improvement District. Today, I'm joined by 4 guests from across the hospitality spectrum, and I'm just thrilled about it. Tiffany Fields is the founder and managing director of Structure Inc. and has been working in the neighborhood for more than a decade. She has worked with over 40 restaurants and thousands of companies. Her consulting firm does everything from business development and sales to event operations, production, and staffing. Anton Moore, the general manager of Gansevoort Hotel, brings over 20 years of hospitality expertise to the Gansevoort Meatpacking Hotel. He has worked for a number of the world's best hotel brands, including Edition Hotels, Ashford Castle in Mayo County, Ireland, and the Waldorf Astoria. Tim Meyers is the hospitality leader at Restoration Hardware and has also been a neighborhood staple for the past 15 plus years. He worked at the iconic Pastis, the EMM Group, and Major Food Group before making his way over to RH when they launched in the Meatpacking District. And Jean Lee, food and drink influencer and longtime friend of the neighborhood. She worked and traveled extensively as a corporate global event planner, curating the best restaurants, hotels, and cultural activities for her clients. Her passion for food and wine led her to found her own digital content creative agency at Genius Eats on Instagram. I want to thank you all so much for joining us today, and thanks for letting me introduce each of you before we sort of dive into the conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I've been teeing up the neighborhood and the Meatpacking District in a big way, saying that we're primed, for a return after New York's pause and COVID, because optics, space, and feeling safe have a whole lot to do with it. So I want to start with the idea, since you guys are in hospitality, of consumer confidence and what you think hospitality can do to instill and ensure consumer confidence. And I want to just throw that out there to whoever wants to start with it, but I'd love to hear from each of you on that from your specific angles.
I'll go ahead and jump in. Obviously consumer confidence is a real thing. I think some people thought they would just open their doors, whether it's a restaurant or just a boutique selling something, and that people were just going to come in. And obviously we see that that's not necessarily the case. Obviously safety first, but creative safety. I don't think everyone just wants to like sit in a bubble or with garbage bags over their heads, at a restaurant. So I think, the one thing that has always attracted people to, restaurants and everything like that is, the experience and the ambiance of a location. And that goes with retail stores and everything like that. So I think creativity and really thinking about your customer will lend them to slowly come to your establishment. You need to give them confidence. Their confidence was leaving, and then coming to you, you really have to kind of nurture, honestly, their insecurities.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Tiffany. I think, when this all began, one of the things that all of us hoteliers, restaurateurs looked at, for instance, our cleaning programs. And, how do you make sure that the consumer, the client, the guest knows that not only you've always run a cleaning establishment, right? But what elevated items are you doing, taking initiatives and that thing. And I think it is super, super important. I know when I've been out supporting local restaurants in the neighborhood, I've been watching how the staff are interacting. I think training is going to be really important. I think people have to take it extremely serious. And one of the things we're telling our team here at Chester is you need to behave and conduct yourself like it was in April when we were all in such fear of COVID. And there was such a level of lack of understanding. Now we know what we need to be doing to help prevent the spread, as well as operating and offering the services and the guest experiences. So I think elevating that cleanliness and enabling so consumers can see what the team are doing, that they are taking these extra steps and measures, and that you're not just listing it on your website, you're actually doing it.
Totally agree. And I think it's incredibly important that while you're making the decisions about how to keep your clients safe, you're also fundamentally considering how you're going to keep your own people safe. And I think once we build confidence within the team, help them to understand that when, you're not just, showing off, like performing something, but actually a cleaning act, but we're actually showing off and sort of celebrating the fact that we've thought very deeply about what it is we want to do in this moment, and to allow somebody to trust you that much more. I think it's a true opportunity for any hospitalitarian to really recognize that this is how people are asking us to meet them halfway here. It's not necessarily just about, the best food and the warmest hospitality. It's about showing somebody that you care about their safety, and that begins, again, in my opinion, with people. And but I love the point about creativity as well. There's been some really beautiful spaces that have been built on the streets, and things that could never have come except for through the oppression of what this particular situation has shown. So I'm actually pretty excited to see what comes from this, and I think that in some ways we'll probably be able to gain some genuine, long-lasting consumer confidence through the practices that we're figuring out as a new industry.
Yeah, I love what everyone's been saying so far. As a professional diner, and obviously a consumer who just yesterday I dined in the Meatpacking District. I was at Serafina, and it was wonderful to see how they were really on top of, taking precautions. They had little stickers, in front of the hostess table that was 6 feet apart. I saw them also monitoring their staff, which is supposed to be done on a daily basis. They do have outdoor seating, which is why I chose to dine there, and I love the food as well. But they were very, the wait staff was also very keen to sort of keep a distance. This is a very new thing for all of us. We're all learning as we go, but I think it's better to veer on the side of, caution, and everyone being very vigilant, if you will, in order to regain that consumer confidence. Each individual, has a certain base of knowledge of what we're supposed to do, what not to do, but we need to keep reinforcing that through, the people that we dine with, hopefully with the restaurants that we dine at. It's a learning curve, but we also need to be very compassionate and understanding. People are a little unnerved. I was dining, at another restaurant the other day outdoors, and someone yelled at another diner for not wearing a mask when they weren't eating, so there are a lot of sensitivities. I think we need to be very kind and compassionate and understanding of the situation, and but really do make sure we follow the protocols, we wear our masks, carry around hand sanitizers, all of the above. I mean, this is a scary, scary time, and the fact that they haven't opened up they haven't allowed indoor dining yet, within restaurants, is, when they could have this past Monday, is a clear sign that it's better to be safe than sorry. So I think I very much support our mayor's decision on that.
And isn't it one? I think it's wonderful to see so many people outside dining. I mean, it has a very European feel, especially here in the district. To walk around and see the additional seating that's provided, and it's wonderful work from Jeffrey and the team working with the city to expand that outdoor dining experience. And the other evening, it felt like I was walking through the streets of Rome, seeing everybody outside and eating. So I think we're also, to everybody's point, we're creating something new and something really special in the district at the same time as juggling a really difficult time in our history.
It's really, there's always hope. You always hope for something good coming out of a crisis like this. And I hope that, especially in meatpacking, this is something that becomes a part of the landscape. This more people outside. It softens the environment. It makes it, about people. So I really hope that, we can help to make it permanent, because everybody seems to be enjoying it, pandemic aside. Tim, you work at a place that has sort of redefined the idea of experiential, and you run the restaurant that's upstairs. What are you seeing? How does your experiential play a role in this next phase of sort of life in New York City, both through the hospitality lens, and then how folks are thinking about their homes, given how much time we've had to spend at home?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think thoughtfully is the best answer to that. Churchill says, never let a crisis go to waste, and we have I think all sort of celebrated that moment. Speaking specifically about the experiential part, it's just things have simply changed, but also society as a whole has changed. To your point, Jen, Jean, there are folks that are policing themselves in so many ways, and like saying, hey, this is what used to be right is now not. And so while we have, certain protocols in place, it's mostly people that are behaving in a certain way that allow for things to just go a little bit more differently. I think, we want to make sure that in the spaces that I help to run, that they still feel warm and open and alive and energetic, while at the same time, maybe a little bit with people a little bit further apart. In our particular space where we once had a very sort of profitable and lively bar on our third floor, we've removed it and made the decision to do so because we knew that we couldn't control the amount of people coming into the space. And it was more important for us to ensure the safety of the people and not create an environment where we would have to say no all the time, to just instead reimagine what it would be like if we to have this space become focused in a different way. And so, there's some hard falls that come from that, but I think the longevity that we'll see and hopefully the trust that we can gain from not only our own people, but from the guests who'll be joining us, that will be long lasting. And so the repercussions of this are going to be long lasting. And I think we just have to think into the future about how this is going to be affecting us. I don't think that the bottom line is going to look great this year, but I think that if we're thoughtful about how we're planning for the future and adjust to, seeing, and listening to our clients, and to your point, Jeffrey, like acknowledging that there is a difference in how experiential spaces are being, utilized. Businesses just need to not hold on to what was done before, stand on ceremony and say that's who we are. We have to really think differently and reimagine the future.
I think that's huge. Tiffany, as a consultant in the space, what are some key concerns that you're hearing? I mean, I think Tim just laid out some pretty solid ideas, but what are you hearing from clients and partners? What are they coming to you with? Have you come across or come up with any creative solutions? I know you mentioned creativity as sort of being a cornerstone right now, but are there things that you're seeing are able to be sort of replicated across the industry in terms of the clients that you're working with and talking to right now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I would say questions started flooding in back in March, immediately. And I would say I mainly represent venues, but I also have tons of partnership with major wedding planners. Obviously, they're looking for venues. It kind of goes hand in hand. So they were the first to kind of call me. You're talking about $1 million weddings, and they're like, what's going to happen with the venue? What are we doing? Should I push it off to June? And I said, no, this is not going to be a June fix. Is it going to be an August fix? No, it's not going to be an August fix either. So I think when everyone started to hear what I was saying then, before we even had all of the data that we do now, I told everyone to trust me, and there is no way that gathering so large would be able to happen so soon. I think now everyone sees that. And so I advised my event clients to push all events, if possible, past spring 2021. So that seems like a long time, but you rather move it once than try to do it for, a September and then again and again and again and again. From the restaurant side, obviously the loss of that event revenue, for a lot of venues really affects their bottom line. And so just like Tim said, numbers for this year are just not going to be good.
Right.
But I think the focus needs to be going into the fall. A lot of venues that I've worked with have already started pivoting and offering catering and meal kits and a lot of other things. So I think one of the things that I've advised my restaurant partners to do is work on their catering operations, because I think a lot of businesses, as they start reopening, maybe they may not be able to go to, a restaurant for a private dinner, but they may be willing to go say, you know what, can you bring that dinner to us? We're going to have a 10-person meeting in our own offices, and that way you can still have some revenue coming in. So I mean, I can talk all day about it, but I would say for both sides. I think events are probably the biggest sales driver for a lot of venues, and unfortunately, they're going to take a hit. Even going to 2021, they're not going to, they're not going to see what they were seeing in 2019.
Yeah, and I think across the board, and Anton, this is specifically for you, but it affects everybody. Tourism plays a huge role in our city, and most especially, I think, in the meatpacking district. I mean, it's pretty remarkable, the tourist foot traffic that we have. So I think you said something really interesting also in the beginning, Anton, is that like you have to shift your strategy and show consumers that you're elevating your clean game, but you don't want them to think that you weren't clean before. Things like this happened. So as you think about what will be like to welcome guests back into the Gansevoort, what types of things are you guys thinking through, and how about attracting folks back? And are there any demographics you guys are thinking you might start with that to sort of bring that audience back?
Well, I'll give us an ultimate plug that we are under full renovation. So when we do open our doors, we're going to be reintroducing ourselves and repositioning the property. And we've been very fortunate that in our design, we've been very forward thinking with our technology. And so can't announce it yet, but it will be coming out in the trade soon. But we have a great opportunity with some of the technology that we are already working on and have been working on the design phase. So I think similar to the experiential piece of our lifestyles, having enhanced technology in the hotel experience and the guest experience is going to bode very well coming out of this pandemic because of the way we're going to be communicating, the way you want to interact with guests. So that piece, I'm really confident and really excited about announcing. I just can't spill the beans yet, but we've got some great opportunities.
You can certainly spill the beans here if you want.
I know, yes, I can't yet. I would love to, but it'll be coming out very, very soon. But
we're excited for it.
Is tourism and as we look at, to your point, demographic, I think there's an opportunity similar to all of us discussing how we've supported the local restaurants. I think the staycation, the ultimate staycation, is going to be critical in the coming months. We've all been cooped up in our apartments as New Yorkers. People in the tri-state area can't do their holidays, and so having that opportunity, and of course we're very benefit here, Gansevoort, we have the rooftop pool. So looking within our backyard, I can't tell you how many emails we're getting from our local corporate clients that aren't traveling saying, let us know when you're opening. We want to come and enjoy the Meatpacking District as a leisure travel versus our normal corporate. And I think I'm confident and I'm understanding, but we as humans want to interact with each other. This is wonderful to Zoom with everyone, but wouldn't it be great if we were all sitting around the conference table interacting with each other? And I'm confident that in the course of time, similar to after 9/11 and after the markets crashed, that we will see that tourism come back. But in the interim, we have to look in our backyard, and we are targeting a demographic that's within our local markets that will come and enjoy the property and the Meatpacking District as a whole. We're just getting creative as how to do that.
Yeah, I mean the timing could not have been better. I know it sounds odd for you guys to be going through this renovation, so I'm super excited for that to happen. And I look forward to reading about it in the trades. I guess I'll wait until that time. And then Jean, from your lens, I mean, the influencer landscape was it, right? I mean, it was influencer everything leading up to this pandemic. So what's happened during, and then what shifts are you seeing for the future on your side of things?
Yeah, it has been, look, with all of us, it's gone through a very interesting evolution. So yes, prior to COVID, we were being wined and dined, restaurateurs and chefs wanted us to go and experience, what they were offering. I couldn't even keep up with the demand, quite frankly. Then COVID hit, and actually it was very interesting to see how it shifted and pivoted into, you know, a lot of them moving into more of a takeout, delivery platforms, and they still relied on us. It was all about the relationships at the end of the day. And so that was wonderful to still, to be able to continue to foster those relationships and to be able to support, you know, these local businesses who, you know, we all, it's a very beautiful symbiosis. So they rely on us and we rely on them. And it's just, I think we've really held each other's hands through this process, and we continue to. Now that restaurants are opening, I've been, you know, receiving a lot more invites. And there's still plenty of places that I just go to because I love it outside of my influencer world, if you will. I'm still a diner,
Sure.
you know, and I have restaurants that I love to go to. And it's so wonderful to see how many of them have, transformed their spaces, moving into the patio dining. It's been wonderful. But that relationship still is the most important relationship. We're in hospitality, and it's always about that interpersonal relationships, you know. And I think you're starting to see more and more of that. I've noticed staff people are much more keen to sort of, they seem much more helpful. You know, they're much more, you know, wanting to make sure that, you know, you feel safe. I think it's a great thing. Maybe, you know, there was a lot of bells and whistles going on before, tons of restaurants. Things are just being pared down to simplicity.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting back to, you know, what's really important, being nice to one another. Simple, clean, you know, simple foods that like everyone, that, you know, that people can access, that has a great story, nothing too fanciful. You know, we're starting to see the fine dining restaurants are not doing as well. You're starting to see the rise of more comfort, casual food, but done it in very creative ways. You know, I'm embracing it. I'm embracing it. At the end of the day, people want to come together. We want to dine at these restaurants, these venues, and visit these hotels because we want to socialize. And I think that's the most important thing, is so that we're now living in a different world where we just have to be a little bit more cautious. But like I said, you know, if you're respectful, you're kind to one another, you should be able to express any concerns that you have without, you know, without being angry or too anxious about it. I think that those are the things that we need to kind of maybe work on. But other than that, it's been a wonderful experience. I've been very busy during quarantine, as you know. We even worked together and collaborated on a few things in showcasing the businesses that were open in the meatpacking district. So, yeah, I'm flexible, and I'm enjoying the process.
Yeah. Well, this has gone by incredibly quickly, and I want to leave a minute or two for my favorite round, where we just unpack a little bit about each of you, besides sort of your professional elements. So I call it our fire round of questions. And I'm going to ask a couple of questions that I'll call out your name for each of you. And I think you'll all get a chuckle out of this. We love doing it. So this is going to be for Tiffany and Anton. Sidewalk cafe or rooftop bar?
Rooftop bar.
Yeah, rooftop bar.
All right, we've got a rooftop scene. Tim and Jean, a night at the theater or a visit to the museum?
Oh, I love the theater.
I would say a visit to the museum.
All right. I'll go back, Tiffany and Anton again. Red wine or white wine?
White right now.
White wine for sure.
Got it.
White wine for sure.
And then let's see, Tim and Jean, egg and cheese on a roll or a bagel with cream cheese for breakfast?
Oh, that's a really tough one. I love them both. But I would say, I think I would always lean towards the egg
Same.
and cheese. It's just quintessential
Absolutely.
New York. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree
Gotcha.
100%.
And Tiffany and Anton, do you want to have a preference on that one also? It can be our final of a food of your breakfast favorite.
I'd go with the egg as well.
Same. Same.
We've got an egg crowd because that would
The
be my
New York
choice also.
way.
It is.
It absolutely is.
And you can get it anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this was fantastic. And I really appreciate all of your time this morning and all you're doing that for the neighborhood, for your industries, you know, and for the community. It's pretty remarkable what we've been through. And I think where we're going, we started this off with sort of leaning into what we're excited about coming out of this with. And you guys are all playing an instrumental role in making sure that it's for the better. And so really thank you all for that. So thank you for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Good stuff.
Thank you all.
And thank you all for joining us on Meatpacking Unpacked. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay tuned to hear from the future meatpacking districts and the city's cast of characters across our cultural, political, and business spectrum. We'll see you all next week.